Good morning, and I'm very delighted to be here today. Again, it's Sami Shumo, the Group Director of Apprenticeships at the London South Bank University Group. And I'm really pleased to have one of our standing apprentices, Alex O'Shea, who is an apprentice doing the Quantity Surveyor Degree Apprenticeship, Level 6. And Alex works for Sir Robert McAlpine. Alex, good morning and welcome, and thank you for being here and taking the time out of your busy schedule. Would you like to do a quick introduction to yourself and your job role and the apprenticeship that you are doing at London South Bank University?
Absolutely, Sami, and just want to say thanks for obviously having me here today. So just a bit about me. My name's Alex. I work currently as an assistant estimator for Sir Robert McAlpine with a national outlook, but I'm largely based in London. Bit of what I do at work, typically focusing on commercial governance, pre-construction, tendering and estimating, and various other cost-orientated roles in the pre-construction centre. Whilst also completing now my final year at London South Bank University as a degree apprentice. I'm touching on now being 4 years with London South Bank University. Initially, when I joined in 2020, that was to complete my HNC in quantity surveying, and now I'm wrapping that up with a BSc in commercial management. Whilst working, so that's typically in a kind of a 1-day release method.
Excellent, and that's really great, and thank you for bringing up the HNC, because obviously you've done the level 4 construction quantity surveying technician apprenticeship successfully, and you've completed the HNC. You've done that. You also completed the level 4 endpoint assessment, which was great as well. So how was your experience doing the level 4 apprenticeship and then progress into a level 6 apprenticeship?
Well, I think it's a testament to the fact that the delivery of London South Bank University and the apprenticeship procedure is fantastic. Having gone through one EPA, which is an endpoint assessment, doing the HNC qualification, not only has aided me in what I do on a daily basis at work, whilst also broadening my horizons, but also giving me the ability to say, right, I've finished my HNC in quantity surveying. I know that the standard of education that I'm going to receive whilst completing my second endpoint assessment, and also getting my Bachelor of Science in commercial management, because they are two slightly distinct things, is going to be great at South Bank, and that's definitely been the case. The location is centralised. And the fact that it's so open really promotes this whole idea of you can come, you can work, you can learn, and also have a bit of fun too, because that's what it's all about, whilst you're learning. And that broadens your horizons through networking as well, because you're exposed to full-time students, to degree apprentice students from all kind of walks and faculties of the construction life, in my particular example, and that only serves as a further benefit. And I know for a fact that the lectures and the lecturers and the content that's been delivered has been great, and I can take that, put that forward as part of my CPD, put that forward for my endpoint assessment. It's all relevant and it's all very, very useful, and sometimes it feels a bit like a cheat code, really. That's how good it's been.
Excellent. That's really good to hear. So if we go back to the beginning, what made you decide to do an apprenticeship, and how did you go about applying and finding the apprenticeship?
Well, I really sort of I was of the sort of academic kind of route, but I didn't ever feel compelled to maybe go down the particular, the sole degree route to university, because I was always acutely aware of wanting to get industry experience. And so I sort of left my A levels and spent a bit of time thinking about what I really wanted to do. And I've always lived in London, and I thought to myself, look, where can I go that will be able to assist me the right way, that I can pursue my sort of pathway. So I applied to a couple of employers, and this is where I sort of going to have to shamelessly plug Sir Robert McAlpine, because they've been very helpful throughout the whole process, and they were kind enough to take me on as apprentice, and then soon after put me down for continuing or starting my studies rather at London South Bank as a degree apprentice. And I think, you know, London South Bank is a bit of a industry name, especially in, you know, Sir Robert McAlpine. Lots of people who I speak to, you know, and this is going back sort of, you know, 40, 50 years kind of thing. You know, they spend time at London South Bank University as well. So it's nice to kind of continue that lineage, really. And yeah, and I've found it all very, you know, all very useful, and just having that familiarity as well, which is
Yeah.
important, because I think it can be quite daunting, especially in an industry like construction. It's so complex. You want to feel supported,
Yep.
so
Yeah.
that's what I've got, you know.
Excellent. Good. And good to hear that lineage you spoke about in terms of the history of people as Sir Robert McAlpine coming to LSBU. And, you know, I hope it continues for another 50 years. So if I was a young person, similar to your stage when you applied to Sir Robert McAlpine, from your experience, what do you think worked well for you? What do you think an employer like Sir Robert McAlpine was looking for in the application, in the interview process? What advice would you give someone thinking about an apprenticeship in the future?
I think apart from, you know, apart from the obvious things that we always touch on in such interviews, talking about, you know, just being presentable and you know, coming across well. I think really what employers are looking for is honesty, um, because, and the reason I say that is because employers like Sir McAlpine, or even SMEs, which I know the LSBU apprenticeship team are doing fantastic stuff with, because this is really the future of any industry, growing businesses, that they're not out there to get you. Yeah, they're not there to trip you up. They're there to support you. You know, so if you have an honest approach to things and just say, look, this is who I am, kind of thing. I'm ready to learn. I'm keen to learn. I want that. I want your support, and I'm ready to give you my time. And you know, I want you to believe in me, really. Then those two things are going to go hand in hand, and really, you're seriously going to go far. And you know, LSBU teaches you about these things. All of the modules that you do study on your degree course, but also on your degree apprenticeship course, but also for the full-time students. You know, because everyone's at different stages of their careers,
Yeah,
amps you up to get to that point, whatever that point may be.
excellent. Good. And that's really good advice. And I hope people who watch this, you know, can take from your experience, because obviously you've been now coming up to 4 years or more than 4 years being an apprentice, working successfully, progressing from level 4 to level 6. So obviously you speak from a position of authority and experience and understanding. The other question I have, which is around your most recent success, which is around joining the National Apprentice Panel for the Institute for Apprenticeships and Technical Education, which is obviously a really prestigious place to be in. You are a voice for apprentices, not only in London but nationally, you know, and you can influence the shape of the apprenticeship provision program and national policy in the future. How are you finding that experience, and what have you learned so far from that experience?
No, so thank you, Sammy, because obviously you very kindly pointed me in the direction of the Institute for Apprenticeships and Technical Education. And you know, just talking to you as I am now, and anyone who's going to listen, I seriously invite you to join and to make connections with the apprentice panel, because really that's the future of shaping how your endpoint assessment and the degree route, not in construction, all faculties, every kind of industry, is shaped to make sure that the process that you're going to be going on whilst doing your degree, whilst working, is helpful and beneficial for all. So being part of the panel has been a great experience overall. We've had some really great events, talking to other industry professionals, but also more importantly, looking at what the IFATE and the endpoint assessments and the degree process actually provides. So we all know about the KSBs, the knowledge, skills, and behaviours, that, you know, some of us love or hate more, depends on what it is. But understanding, you know, are they relevant? Are they touching on what we are actually doing in our workplaces? Are they assisting us in what we are trying to fulfill, the roles we're trying to do? Because I think the process shouldn't be complicated. The apprentice panel, or rather the endpoint assessment process, is like a way of uh, holding hands with the employer, so that you as an apprentice can have the best experience, and at the end, you know that you are as professional as you're going to be and the best of your abilities in your particular industry.
Excellent. It seems
So,
like a really. Sorry, carry on. Sorry.
no, I was just going to say that, you know, it is important to think about these. It is important to think about these things, because ultimately, you know, they are going to shape the future. You know.
Yeah, and it seems like what you're working on as part of the panel is important work, because now the new apprenticeship system, which is not new, you know, is matured, almost coming up to 10 years now. It's time to reflect and learn from what worked well and didn't work well, etc. Because, like you said, it's about making sure everything's streamlined, really simple for apprentice, employers, providers, all working together. Because ultimately, what we're looking for is an apprentice developing the knowledge, skills, and behaviors for a specific profession, to make sure that they are contributing, productive, and employable for the remainder of their career. You know, so
Absolutely.
they, you know, that's the really good thing about being an apprentice, that you are learning, but also applying that knowledge and bringing that knowledge to the learning environment, and vice versa, on an ongoing basis. I think we as providers, we learn a lot from our apprentices. We learn a lot from the employers, because they are at the forefront of delivery of the different professions and of things, especially in this day and age with advance of technology, AI, and other things like that. Things rapidly change, you know, and we need to stay obviously informed. We need to make sure that our curriculum is valid and relevant and reflect the changes that's happening with various sectors. I'm aware that you do some work or extracurricular activities to support apprenticeships. Would you want to share some of the stuff that you have been doing to
Yeah,
promote apprenticeships?
absolutely. I mean, it all sort of goes hand in hand with what we've already touched on. In terms of one of my sort of the biggest extracurricular things that I get involved in is doing a lot of talks to universities and secondary schools on behalf of the Chartered Institute of Building, as a Chartered Institute of Building Tomorrow's Leader, and also a STEM ambassador. And it's particularly nice to speak to, like, you know, secondary school students, because, you know, I've been there thinking, what, you know, I don't know what to do. The world is so broad, there's so many choices, and I always say, look, consider a degree apprenticeship, because this is the way forward. Not discrediting degrees, everyone, you know, everyone's for their own, but I'm seeing a real positive shift of the kind of negative connotations that people might have of apprenticeships of the past. I think people often thought negatively, thinking, oh, apprenticeship, well, you know, what do they know? It's sort of low wage, all this kind of stuff that, you know, but really it's a completely different world, and this is where Southbank comes into it. This is where the endpoint assessment providers have come into it, and the IFA, because it's a positive shift moving to understanding, look, you're actually getting a free of charge qualification in effect, because the employer is funding your education. You're having time to learn on the job. You're having time to learn academically at a, you know, in top industry university such as Southbank. There are others obviously across the country, and also one thing that people often don't particularly think is important, but as real value, is networking. So speaking to people, going out for events, even just being in the office or wherever you work, that drives real value to your personal development, because it exposes you to things that you might not necessarily be exposed in, whilst at the same time you're being grounded with a foundational academic level of knowledge at the university that you study in. And as part of my talks, done loads of talks, that's one thing that I say, look, you don't discredit apprenticeships. Your parents might think, look, I want you to go to university, But actually, you're still going to university, you're doing all of that stuff, but you're working and getting paid a very, very competitive, wage and salary whilst increasing your career. So you have, it's like I said earlier, it's almost like a cheat code. It's a no-brainer kind of thing, because you've got a serious step up. Of course, it's hard work. It is hard work. You have to put in the long hours depending on whatever you do, but you can seek real great benefit from it in the end. And although I'm speaking from a biased perspective, because that is exactly the route I've taken, I didn't always think that I was going to go down this route. But the doors that have opened since have been unfounded,
Excellent. You've stole my next question from my mind. So I was going to ask you next about the benefits of doing an apprenticeship, and you've answered that really well, which is great. So my next thing would be around, if you were to advise any employer listening to this or watching us talk now, some employers specifically, when they think about employing apprentices, they think they are going to spend a lot of time training someone. Somebody's not going to be productive. They're not going to add value to the business, etc. What would you say to that employer? What encouragement as an apprentice would you give that employer to give someone like yourself a chance to have an apprentice career?
Well, this is where, just before I answer the question, just going to say, well, this is where, Sir Rob McAlpine has been fantastic, because the whole apprenticeship program, the early careers team that support you, but also the people that I've worked with. But it's not just goes for my employer, it's other employers as well, on this kind of in this kind of area. They're extremely supportive of your personal development and progression. Like I said earlier, no one's out there to get back to you. Yes, the work can be tough, but it's all in the aims of supporting you to make sure that you're the best that you can be. For employers that might think, oh well, we got a team already, small team, do we really need an apprentice? Well, think of the overarching benefit. What you're giving to the apprentice, they're going to give back 10 times more. So like the cost benefit ratio, it just outweighs in the positive direction, because you're giving them support in education and also a chance to progress. And naturally, they're going to be grateful, and they're going to think, look, this person has helped me, or this entity or this business or organization, and I'm going to put my time into making sure that I'm providing growth for that business. Yeah, I can bring my skills, fresh ideas, contacts, networking, education to you, because you're giving a foundation for me to start in. So it's a cyclical process, and this just further helps to increase growth for any kind of business. And I know that for a fact, having spoken to loads of people about this, because that's exactly what it's like. You employ someone who has the time, who has the energy. Although of course it's important to recognise that there are apprenticeships of different ages or different stages or any kind of part of their life. But typically, I think it outweighs the fact that there are more younger apprentices, so they have time, they have the energy, and they will be giving back to you to ensure that your business is also growing.
Excellent. So for any employer watching this, please listen to what Alex has said, and I completely agree with everything we see from the employers we work with. Exactly that. The return of investment is huge. There is real commitment by apprentices. They bring in fresh ideas to the employer. They work really hard to demonstrate the value that they bring to the business, and also they often tend to represent the communities they come from, giving more diversity, more weight, and getting the business to think about different things that they haven't thought about traditionally. So I think it's a win-win for everyone. It's a great scheme, and great to see people like yourself really excelling in this and taking advantage of the additional and contributing even more, through being a STEM ambassador, the Future Leader program with the CIOB, etc., which is really good to hear. Finally, I just wanted to ask you a question, which is, would you recommend London South Bank, obviously, to other people considering apprenticeship or employers considering taking an apprentice? In your opinion, what would you say?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it goes without saying that I've had a really good experience there. It's not so much about the fact that look, obviously the apprentice team are great. Also, the lecturers are great. So the content that you are receiving is good. I just before I answer the question fully, I'm on a commercial management course just as part of finishing up my BSc. It's not necessarily applicable to my role as an estimator. But I know the fact that by doing that, I would get so much more broader sphere of knowledge. And that's exactly why I wanted to do it at South Bank in particular, because I know that the quality that I was going to receive is great, but also the facilities are great. The library is extensive. The new building has come up recently, and it just feels like a bit of a community. Really, it's very easy to access, and that kind of sums it up. That yeah, I have felt adequately supported, and I'm not just speaking from my perspective. I'm speaking from the perspective of many others. You make long-lasting friends, whatever degree you're on, whatever if it's a degree apprenticeship or full-time education. But in particular, the apprentice program at South Bank has been extremely well delivered, and I haven't had any problems with it. And that's only sought to kind of further benefit me in what I'm doing, which is great. So yes, the underlying message is absolutely. I would put that forward to any apprentice or any school leaver, or even if you're looking to retrain or doing a returnship. It's going to be really well delivered and just benefit you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That's really kind of you. And yeah, and with the apprenticeship standards, so the one that you're on, which is the construction quantity surveyor degree apprenticeship, they always tend to be a little bit wider than the specific role, because we're developing the knowledge, skills, and behaviors for you to be
Absolutely.
within any areas of that kind of sector or that role. So you're not pigeonholed to one specific, like position, because you may in the future get promoted and become a director, for example.
Yeah.
And then you would need to cover other things as well, which then when, all these things that are covered by the knowledge, skills, and behaviors will kick in later on. So we are hopefully trying to build you for the future. And of course, we will be delighted for you to come back in the future when you complete your level 6 degree apprenticeship. At some point, you can come and do your masters in
I'd love
construction management, or quantity surveying or whatever. If you feel that's appropriate for you, you may want to take a break and relax for a couple of years or whatever. Go on holiday, enjoy yourself more. But it's been really interesting catching up with you, Alex, as always. I'm very grateful for everything that you've done so far. You've been at the forefront. You attended with me the all parliamentary event, talking to MPs and senior leaders in your experience, and promoting the apprenticeships, because of course it's important to raise that, and continue to get the government support and all politician support of the scheme and the benefits that it brings to individuals and the country and the business community. So thank you very much. I think you've done extremely well so far, and you obviously near the end of your apprenticeship. I will be delighted, once you complete your EPA, we can celebrate together your success. Yes, and you can have a little bit of fun together, hopefully.
No, I just wanted to say, thank you, Sammy, because I think it's the work of yourself and the good team at the apprenticeship team that really keep the momentum alive, and it's clear to see that the effects are great. So it's a far-reaching effect. It's not just what me and you are discussing here; it's across the board. So thanks a lot, and much appreciated.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Alex.